Superstition is a worldwide phenomenon, as most countries have stories about the supernatural, whether it be facts or fantasy. These stories are part of our cultures and shape a big part of our society, but some countries take these stories further than others. In our last ghost documentary we talked about Japanese ghosts. The ghosts of Japan are quite well known thanks to Hollywood. They have a big impact on the worldwide movie and entertainment industry and about our ideas of horror. But did you know there are some countries that have even more ghost folklore with even scarier and more horrifying backgrounds? One of these countries is Indonesia, one of the most religious countries in the world. Here around 98% of the population is religious, and most of them believe in ghosts, and in this documentary, you will learn a bit more about them. Welcome to the Glimp. The stories of ghosts, spirits, and the supernatural are all common topics in Jakarta, the capital city of Indonesia. In this place people don't just claim to see ghosts but they actually claim to capture them on film or audio recordings as well. Besides the fact that the horror genre is the crown jewel in the Indonesian film industry, there are a lot of reality TV shows about this topic, and the results can be quite scary. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, these stories will probably give you goosebumps and make you think about the spirit world with a different perspective. I don't believe in ghosts until I see one, is one of the main reasons people don't believe in ghosts, but remember, one small sighting or the hearing of one of these entities can completely change your perspective and bring the chills down your spine. Despite the technological era we live in, where we have self-driving cars, drones that are delivering packages and robots that are doing human tasks, some customs in Indonesia are deeply rooted in superstitious beliefs. For example, one of these customs is to not wear green when you visit the Yogyakarta beach. It is actually prohibited. The reason for this is that the Queen of the Southern Sea, also known as Ratu Kidul, is residing at the beach, and her favorite color is green, and if you are to wear green, you will be washed up by the sea, taken to her supernatural kingdom. Another good reason to not wear green here is because water in the southern coast tends to be green, and when drowning, you will be more difficult to find. Indigo Kids. A lot of people in Indonesia believe in people who are spiritually gifted. These people are referred to as Indigo Kids. They say there is another world apart from the world we live in, and there must be people who are expert in that. This ability is seen as a gift from God. These Indigo Kids are usually very wise and have a set of unique skills, consisting of exorcism, healing and more. Their mission is to raise awareness about the other world, as most people are stuck in the logics of this world. On social media platforms, Indigo Kids are at the center of attention when it comes to supernatural content. They visit mystical places, read people, predict the future or communicate with ghosts. These ghosts are some of the weirdest mythical creatures you will encounter. Kuntilanak. Some of them seem slightly similar to some Japanese ghosts, for instance the kuntilanak. A ghost of a mother who died before giving birth, just like the kozadate from Japan. Similarly, she has long black hair and a white dress. But the kuntilanak doesn't have eyes, just two dark black holes, and one in her neck as well. And unlike the kozadate, the kuntilanak is not a loving or caring ghost. She haunts pregnant women, and tries to steal their baby. She lurks in tall trees, old buildings, or by the edge of a river or a lake while crying like a baby. Some people believe just the sight of one of these spirits can drive you insane. When a kuntilanak approaches you, it might first smell like flowers, but soon it will change into the smell of rotting flesh. In one story, a young woman was returning to her college campus late at night, and decided to take a taxi bus. On a darkened street, the bus suddenly stopped. The girl looked out the window and thought another passenger was to get on the bus. Then she checked the front seat, and realized the bus driver was gone. He had run away. Looking outside again, she saw a woman in a long white dress with black hair standing outside the door, staring at her directly. She was trapped inside the bus and unable to escape. The next morning people found her in the bus, laying on the floor with a terrorized face. She was sent to the psychiatric ward but never recovered from her experience. People say that if you carry a sharp object, the kuntilanak won't harm you, as she is afraid of it. She can be killed by driving a nail into the hole in her neck. Sundel Bolong. A similar ghost to the kuntilanak is the Sundel Bolong, literally meaning prostitute hole. Like the kuntilanak, the Sundel Bolong is the soul of a woman who died during pregnancy, but in this case, a pregnancy that wasn't from her spouse. With long black hair and a white dress, she looks like a lot of typical ghosts, but the Sundel Bolong also has a hole in her back. This is the place where the baby came out during birth. Her long black hairs cover up this hole. The victims of her usually consist of men and children, and it is said that if she is to be rejected by a man, she will castrate him. However, children, especially newborns, are taken to replace her lost child. Pocong. In Javanese folklore, they believe that the soul of a dead person will stay on the earth for 40 days after the death. If after these 40 days the ties over the burial clothes, known as a kain coffin, are not released, it is said that the body jumped out of the grave, roaming the earth as an undead to warn people that the soul still needs to be released. These ghosts are known as pocongs. They come in different shapes and forms, depending on the state they were in when they died. They can look zombie or skeleton-like, but they can also look more human-like. Even though some people think they are scary, a lot of them are usually harmless. Most of these pocongs are classified as white pocongs, that just ask for prayers to help with their release to the afterlife. Still, in general, unpredictable behavior is common, and it is encouraged not to think of them as a friendly ghost. They are supernatural beings that need to be treated with caution. This is because there are also vengeful pocongs that like to frighten and haunt people. These are mostly the red pocongs, also known as the pocong merah. These are the most horrifying ghosts, that usually died in a very bad way, for instance suicide or murder. Pocongs sometimes gather in groups, which can be a few dozen up to thousands of ghosts per colony. However, it is very rare that they harm people in groups, so most of the times they are seen, they are alone. It is said that the red pocongs are the heads of colonies of these ghosts. One of these ghost colonies can be found in a rural part of Yogyakarta, near the river known as Code River, which is said to be inhabited by a massive colony consisting of thousands of pocongs. The leader of this colony is a red pocong, an early 20th century shaman specializing in black magic. During his lifetime his practices greatly disturbed the villagers of his village, even so much that one day they decided to murder him and mutilate his body. His body was wrapped in white cloth, which then turned red because of the blood that was pouring out of the shaman's body. In death, the shaman swore revenge on the villagers that slaughtered him, and thus, his spirit started recruiting thousands of pocongs to take revenge. It is said these pocongs are still haunting Code River to this very day. Andong Pocong. Besides the white and the red pocongs, there is another pocong found in the Sidoarjo Regency. The story of this pocong comes from a young male who was in love with the daughter of a rich debt collector. The parents of the girl didn't approve their marriage due to social differences. However, the young man's mother did approve them as a couple, and they got married anyway. When they got married, one of the workers of the debt collector witnessed the ceremony and rushed home to inform the family of the wedding. The father got angry, gathered a mob, and rushed towards the ceremony. Once he arrived, they were already married, and the married couple was riding a horse cart, also known as a andong. They furiously chased the couple until the cart was hit by a passing truck, killing both the man and his bride. Due to the cruel nature of his death, the young man was unable to find his way to the afterlife, and he began to haunt the Sidoarjo region on his cart. People say that the Pocong will knock on your door during midnight, and those who open the door will be affected by an unknown illness which causes you to die within a matter of days. Tuyul. A combination of these stories, a shaman that practices black magic, and an unsuccessful birth, leads to our next entity. When a baby dies during pregnancy or during abortion, sometimes the corpse of the baby will be dug up. Then combined with black magic, it can create a being that looks like a strangely bald-shaped toddler with a gray skin and large red eyes. This undead baby is called the Tuyul, which means mischievous thief. While most of the times the Tuyul is contained in a glass jar in a dark place, when it gets used it is usually for financial gains. It is known to bring good luck and fortune to the host, but mishap to those who encounter them. It robs people from their riches by lurking around villages at night, and gives it to the Tuyul's owner. It easily gets away with its crimes because of its small size. Owning or using a Tuyul is like making a contract with the devil, and when you do own one it must be kept happy like a toddler, for instance by offering toys, candy or sweets. Besides that, you need to nurse it. This is done by pricking your thumb and allowing it to suck your blood, similar to a vampire. If you don't, it will forcefully suck blood from you or your family's toes while you are sleeping. To keep them away, just like vampires, you can hang garlic over your door. Also it is advised to keep your money on top of some needles or on a mirror. The Tuyul is scared of needles and is also scared of their own reflection. A lot of times it is believed that people with wealth and success, for instance government officials, have used a Tuyul to get it. Nowadays the Tuyul remains widely used in Indonesian society, for instance through mediums, but also in games, literature, and television. To get rid of a Tuyul is very easy. You can bury it and lay it to rest, or you can throw it in the sea. Jenglot. Similar to the Tuyul, a Jenglot is a small creature that some people like to keep around. A formerly human being that is enchanted with black magic. It is said to protect its master or take revenge on the owner's enemies. It is even smaller than a Tuyul as it is only about 12 centimeters. They have long hair and long nails and also need to be nursed with blood from a human or an animal. Although they don't drink it, you just have to place it in a glass besides them and they will get the nutrients from it in a mystical way. The Indonesian Red Cross sells blood for this purpose too. Over the years a lot of the Jenglots have been showcased in private collections of supernatural researchers or fans. But as you might imagine a lot of these Jenglots were hoaxes to gain some money. Still, many natives believe the Jenglot is a real creature. Wewe Gombel. Besides supernatural children that haunt the night, there are also ghosts that kidnap children. A female ghost with long hanging breasts. The name of this ghost comes from an event that happened in Bukit Gombel, where long ago a married couple lived. After being married for years, the husband realized his wife stopped loving him, and as a result, he started neglecting her, leaving her alone for long periods of time so that she would live in sorrow. One day, she tried to find out what was going on and followed him. She caught him in a relationship with another woman. She felt so betrayed and got so angry that she killed him. Because of her crime, angry neighbors started harassing her and then proceeded to chase her out of her village. She eventually committed suicide. After she passed, her spirit became the ghost she is today. Wewe Gombel, she dwells in the crown of the Orenga Panada palm, where she has a nest and where she keeps the children she catches. She doesn't harm the children, and once they are with her, the kids aren't afraid of her neither. These children usually have been mistreated or neglected by their parents, and to them, Wewe Gombel is like a loving grandmother. Suster Najesit. One of the most vengeful ghosts in Indonesian folklore is the Suster Najesit, which literally translates to the nurse that is dragging herself forward. As the name already suggests, this is the ghost of a nurse. A nurse that died in a hospital and now is haunting the halls of hospitals and clinics throughout the country. With long unkempt hair and nurse clothing, she drags herself over the floor, leaving a trail of blood. There is still a debate about her cause of death. Some say she was murdered by a patient, while others say she committed suicide after having been falsely accused for a crime she didn't commit. She is mostly found in hospitals or medical clinics that have a history of malpractice, haunting the doctors and nurses that mistreat their patients. She uses medical equipment such as scissors and syringes to stab her victims, and despite her slow looks, she can be incredibly fast, catching you when you least expect it. There is no evidence about the Suster Najesit, but numerous sightings of ghosts in hospitals have been attributed to her, and her legend has inspired a lot of movies, stories, and books. Hantu Kepala Terbang. If you have seen our previous documentary about Japanese ghosts, you must be familiar with the Funayuri. A person that died at sea and now haunts shippers in a ghost boat. In Indonesia, a similar ghost exists, the Hantu Kepala Terbang, literally meaning the flying head ghost, a head without a body that flies through the air. It is said to haunt coastal and maritime areas, and similar to the Funayuri, it is said to have died at sea. The legend says that the Hantu Kepala Terbang is the spirit of a woman who was betrayed by her lover and left to drown at sea. Her head was severed from her body and her spirit returned as a ghost, seeking revenge against her unfaithful lover and anyone who crosses her path. While the Funayuri demands a broken bucket, the Hantu Kepala Terbang demands sailors to offer food, drink, or other gifts. If you refuse to make a sacrifice, you are said to suffer misfortune, bad luck, or even death. If you want to prevent encountering these ghosts, it is believed that wearing a special talisman, typically made of gold or other precious metals inscribed with sacred symbols and prayers, can repel the ghost and protect its wearer from any harm. Pret. Another Indonesian ghost similar to a Japanese ghost is the Pret. Also coming from Buddhism, it is very similar to the Japanese gaki, a small creature with a tiny mouth and a bulging belly. Similarly, having difficulties to eat and find satisfaction. The main difference is that these creatures roam the earth, in contrast with the gakis, that are trapped in some sort of purgatory. It is said to haunt people that waste food, trying to remind them about the importance of generosity and compassion. While these ghosts and humans occupy the same physical space, they will see things differently. Where a human while looking at a river would see clear water, a Pret would see the same river but full of things such as pus and filth. This is an example of how they are punished after living a life full of greed and jealousy. It is believed that the Pret is a manifestation of the Buddhist concept of karma, which teaches that every action has consequences and that your actions determine your future. To get rid of one of these ghosts, you should try to not waste food, and if this doesn't help, seeking help from a shaman that will perform a certain ritual might do the trick. But most of the times these ghosts are not to be feared. Actually, they are seen as being to be pitied. In some monasteries, monks leave offerings of foods and drinks for them before meals. Lokasi terkutuk. If you have watched our documentary about Japanese ghosts, I am sure you remember the Jikobukan. Stigmatized properties that are sold for low prices because events such as murder have occurred and now they are believed to be haunted. In Indonesia there is a similar concept which is known as the Lokasi terkutuk, places that are haunted due to past events that have occurred. However, these locations can be anything from graveyards, bridges, forests, abandoned buildings, or even volcanoes. For instance, the legend of Mount Merapi, an active volcano in central Java considered to be one of the most dangerous volcanoes in Indonesia. The story of Mount Merapi involves a mythical figure named Joko Lolono, a powerful sorcerer who lived on the slopes of the mountain. He was said to have magical powers and was extremely feared by the local people. One day the villagers decided to confront him and put an end to his dark behavior and wizardry. They fatally wounded him, and as he died he cursed the mountain. While taking his last breaths, he said that the mountain would continue to erupt until a person was sacrificed to appease its anger. Since this day, Mount Merapi has erupted a lot of times, causing destruction and even death. It is still believed that offerings should be made to prevent more eruptions to happen. Another famous Lokasi terkutuk is called the Terbang, a popular shopping and entertainment center located in Jakarta. It is a place associated with prostitution and people that do sex work. In 2013, a story revealed that a group of men had been secretly filming their encounters with the prostitutes and that they shared the videos online. This sparked outrage throughout Indonesia and eventually led to the area being stigmatized as a cursed location, associated with the immoral behavior that has happened here. In many cultures, including Indonesian culture, it is said that places where immoral or illegal activity takes place attracts negative energies or spirits and ghosts. This contributes to the idea that the Terbang is a haunted site. The ghosts haunting this place can, for instance, be the workers that died after the incidents that happened here, seeking revenge to the males who abused the girls. Just like in Japan, ghosts and supernatural beliefs continue to have a big impact on today's society in Indonesia. Deeply ingrained in the culture, these stories are passed down from generation to generation through folklore, myths, and legends. It still has a huge impact on people's behavior and decisions, and it influences the way people treat each other as well as the ideas about illness, health, and death. It also contributes to the sense of community and shared cultural identity. Compared to Japanese ghosts, Indonesian ghosts often are described as more unpredictable and violent, and most of their stories come from a background of misfortune or death. While this is also the case with some Japanese ghosts, most of the Japanese ghosts are more depicted as sorrowful and tragic. Even though not all Indonesians believe in these ghosts, the stories and traditions around them are still very alive, haunting a big part of Indonesia still till this very day. If you enjoyed this documentary, please let us know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more documentaries.